Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about adjusting your BaZi's climate. And this is it's another way to balance your chart, sort of like we did with elements, but it is different. This is focused on balancing your chart in a way that improves your problem-solving skills, and that improves your ability to succeed, to make money and be able to move forward in life, become, get a promotion, get a raise, all that kind of stuff. So it's focused on really your ability to solve problems. It's different than balancing your BaZi. There we're talking about balancing the elements, and this more has to do with your like your overall view of life, or your overall um, mental state, how easy it is for you to easily deal with problems. I mean, if you have a balanced BaZi, you tend to be able to deal with problems and your emotions and everything in a much more balanced way. So you don't get angry too easily. You, you know, uh, and even when things make you angry, you approach them in a more methodical way. So you don't, it's not all emotions. So this is one way to look at that. But adjusting your BaZi's climate is more precise. So in the balancing your BaZi, you just use an element. Could use the yin or yang version of it. It doesn't matter. Here it's more precise because it's saying you need to use the that particular element's skill set to become a better problem solver. Now, which of the 10 gods that you'll need, and there's sometimes more than one, but which one you need will depend on your day master and the season, which is the month in which you were born. If health is an issue, you use the useful god instead of trying to balance your climate or balance your chart. You use the useful god. So you need to know what you need to fix in your life, what part of your chart do you need to work on. Now, for climate adjustment, it's either going to be adjusted for temperature or it's going to be adjusted for humidity. Typically, it's not both, but one will look like you're doing both. So a BaZi will be classified as cold, warm, or hot. Sometimes people will say hot, damp, or dry. So it's pretty clear that if you have a cold BaZi, you need heat. If you have a warm or hot BaZi, you need something to cool it down. So that's the temperature adjustment. If it's damp, you need something to dry it. And if it's dry, you need some water. It's pretty straightforward. And the seasons themselves also have some general properties which go into automatically adjusting the climate. So sometimes a person born in a certain season automatically has a better overall chart for the climate based on the month they're born for the same day master. The spring months are the tiger, rabbit, and dragon months, and these are the Chinese solar months, not the lunar months, but the solar months. And it's considered well, it starts out as cool and goes to warm or hot, and it is wet. There's usually a fair amount of rain in the spring, for not everywhere, but on the climate as a whole. The summer months are the snake, the horse, and the goat months, and it's usually hot and dry. That's what its climate is. If the autumn months are the monkey, the rooster, and the dog months, and this starts out warm, goes to cool, and it's dry. So that's its general thing. And the winter months are the pig, the rat, and the ox months, and this is cold and wet. So you can pretty much tell what is needed. It's really the hot and the cold that need to have temperature adjustment, and these guys are temperature are roughly okay, so they need the humidity adjustment. Now, just as in the overall balancing of your chart, when they say use a certain element, they actually mean developing and using the skills of people that that already have a high level of that element. They are naturally good at certain things. That that element gives them these skills. You don't use the element as an element. You don't. If it says water, it doesn't mean you need to surround your house with a moat. Uh, it means something else. And a lot of people, even practitioners who don't have a good understanding of Chinese and the Chinese language texts out there, they get this wrong because they don't know any better. And they didn't have a good teacher, usually. Now, generally, picking up a skill that you have either a weak element or it's not an element that is in your chart, it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be useful. It's meant to make your life better. That means you're going to have to work at it. And of course, a lot of people don't like that. They don't want to have to learn something new. And that's where the problem lies if they're not happy with where they are. So you need to answer these two questions. Are you interested in an easy life, one that you don't have to work and don't have to learn anything new, and you are okay with your current level of success? The answer is yes or no. And if you want an easy life and you're not happy with your current level of success, the answer is no. Just to be clear about that. Or the other alternatives, are you willing to work hard, improve your skills to have a more fulfilling life and more success? This one might be no to begin with and yes second, but the answer then would have to be yes. So they come together. You probably only want half of it, but it's the second part that's the key. The answer is up to you. If you answer yes to this and no to this, and basically that's fine if you're happy with your current life, because you're doing okay in whatever your level of desired life, you're doing okay. If that's true, you can stop watching this video because you don't need the information that I'm going to give you, because this is all about how to improve your life, improve specifically your problem-solving ability. And the more problems you can solve, the more success you generally have. So most of this information comes from a paper. It's really like a journal, almost like a journal article, but it's not from a journal. It seems as though it is a group, or maybe it's an individual, but they go by the name of the Great Tao is Simple. That is my best understanding. This, of course, is translated to English. And according to that, not everybody needs climate adjustment. And I will try to put this in the information about I want to put this link there. So this is a Chinese language text, just so you know it right from the beginning. But I'll try to put this in the description of the video so you can find this and click on it there. You're not going to click on the video because the video is just an image where I am narrating. So it's, of course, not an interactive thing. Now, if you're born in the winter and summer seasons, it says you need a temperature adjustment. The winter, of course, needs fire. It needs some heat, and the winter needs water because water cools. You may think you're adjusting for humidity, but what you're doing is adjusting for temperature. I think everybody knows when it rains, it cools down. It may be stickier, it may feel not so cool, but the actual temperature is reduced because as the rain falls, it continues to evaporate, and that cools the air. It's simple physics. Now, those born in the goat and the dog months need water because these are the months that are dry. And these are two animal signs are the earth animal signs. And those born in the ox and the dragon months, again, two earth animals, they need dryness. So these two need the humidity adjustment. And then it goes on to say that those born in the tiger, rabbit, monkey, or rooster months need no climate adjustment. And because of what follows, I actually had my husband read this, and he is a native Chinese speaker and reader. So he says, yes, this is exactly what it says. However, when you read farther in this, it goes on to give adjustments for the tiger, rabbit, monkey, and rooster months. Those, and for everyday master, it tells you this. So it's self-contradictory, but I think what that means really, not said so well, but that these 4 months, people born in these 4 months tend to have less problems, and maybe they do not need an adjustment, but if they're having problems, he tells you how to adjust it. That seems to be what's going on. But it is a little confusing, and he does have some Chinese spelling errors in here, where he's mixing up the G, the yin earth, with the snake. Now, those two characters are very, very similar. And I think he also has some issue with the dog. There's another character that is, it has a slightly different style stroke in one place, and it means two different things. And so there's a few spelling errors, but it's understandable. You know, it's like a typo. You can understand what it means. So although he does state that those born in the tiger, rabbit, and monkey or rooster months need no climate adjustment, maybe it's not absolutely necessary, maybe that's what he means, they do still have a useful God. And you can still look at the chart balance, the overall elemental balance, that is. But they definitely have a useful God. Those born in the goat or dog months, they definitely have climate adjustment gods. Usually one, sometimes there's some extra auxiliary ones, but it's usually going to be metal and water, and they also have a useful God. And as does the ox and the dragon, but in this case it's wood and fire. Now, these three are all the animals born in the spring or the fall or autumn. And finding the useful God is not easy for these people. And if you happen to fall into any one of those months, I can't tell you what your useful God is. I can tell you which group of elements may be your useful God, but I can't pick out the one. You need a real seasoned practitioner to be able to do this. And they probably won't be cheap because they'll be good. So, you know, but remember, the useful God is about health. If you're not having health problems, you don't necessarily need to know what your useful God is. And in fact, you can experiment because you'll have a few to pick from and see if one makes you feel better. That is usually how you would do it if you don't want to pay to find out what your useful God is. Now, people born in the winter, they have their both their climate adjustment god and useful god is almost always fire. They do have to have some fire in their chart, though. And even if it's only in one place in the hidden stem, that's good enough. People born in the summer have both their climate adjustment god and their useful god as water. Again, they must have a little bit of water, at least one little bit of water somewhere in their chart to have water as their useful god. And if they don't, if the winter-born person has no fire or the summer-born person has no water, you're back to having to get probably a master to look at your chart, because this is fairly rare and it's very hard then to determine what it is. And so, again, remember, useful God is about health. Here, when it comes to climate adjustment, they usually give you an alternative if there's an issue where you don't have something that you really need that's missing. They often give you a different way to get to it. So it's not quite as bad as the useful God, because of course, to me, health is one of the most primary things, because if you don't have health, it's very hard to succeed. So that's why useful gods are very important if you're not healthy. But if you're healthy, don't worry about it. You can concentrate on being good, which is what this video was mostly about. Now, the elements, the animal signs have elements associated with them, and they're based on the 24 mountains. And then the 4 earth animals come in, and they come in on basically in the positions where we have the non-element, non-animal sign. There's 4 of them, and that finishes everything. So what we have here is, in the springtime, the tiger and the rabbit, which are wood animals, they are cold and wet wood, or warm and wet wood. So this, is warming up. Whereas the dragon is warm and wet earth. So these are the wet wood, this will be wet earth. The summer, it's dry, so every one of these is dry. The horse and the snake are associated with fire, and so it's dry fire. And it's either warm or hot. And the goat is hot and dry earth. And so this tells you something. This is why the dragon and the goat, the ox and the dog are treated a bit differently, because it's a different element. And so in autumn, metal is the strong one. So, and the monkey and the rooster are metal. And so this is why it's hot or warm and dry metal. But the dog is warm and dry earth. And the winter months, they are cold and wet, either water or earth, where the pig and the rat, they have water as their element. So this actually tells you exactly what needs to change. So in the spring and the autumn, these are humidity adjustments, because they're basically within a okay temperature range. So here we tend to adjust the humidity, and in the summer and the winter, we adjust the temperature. So there, in this article that I quoted earlier, the one that I'm primarily using, there is usually a main climate adjustment element that is one of the 10 gods, and often there are also supporting adjustment elements. Sometimes they are supporting the main climate, sometimes they're adjusting, also having some effect on the daymaster. So it can be either one. So, and what this article that I'm using agrees fairly well with other stuff that's out there, but it's not like this is the one set in stone and the one that's absolutely correct. But in general, it's correct, and it's at least on the right path. Now, the adjustment for each daymaster, again, will depend on the month of birth. So for the same daymaster, depending what month you were born, you may have very different recommendations. So this is why you have to learn this, or have to know exactly what to do for your particular situation. Just as in using your useful God or balancing your batsa, using an element is learning, expanding, practicing the skills that given element naturally exhibits. This is not easy for most people, but this is how to improve your life. And if you don't work at this, your life is very unlikely to improve. You might get lucky, that's always possible. But relying on luck usually makes you old and poor because luck is fairly hard to come by. So, what do we mean by the skills? So, wood, if it says you need wood as either a useful God or as a balancing, well, actually, a useful God, it's more specific, and you can watch the video about that. But if we're talking about balancing your batsa or using climate adjustment, we're talking about growth. That is learning, becoming better at something, expanding your knowledge base, expanding your skills in general. And if it's the yang version, it's a little more dedicated, it's a little bit narrower focused, but it's still learning more and understanding more and being able to approach a problem in a different way. It's just a little bit more restricted than the yin. The yin version is more flexible. They tend to have a broader spectrum of interests, whereas the yang tends to be a little bit more restricted. So, for example, a yang wood daymaster or someone strong in yang wood may just be interested in one thing, let's say science. Whereas a yin wood person could be interested in science and metaphysics and art and language, and they have a very broad spectrum of interest compared to the yang. But it's all about learning and growing, becoming better, learning more, understanding more. That's what wood is all about. When it comes to fire, it's about passion and energy too. The yang is more energetic. So they tend to be people who are quite physically active because they have a lot of energy and it feels good to get the energy out so they can concentrate better on something else once they have, worked out and, gotten rid of some of the excess energy. And they usually are quite passionate people. They have some real interests, and they do tend to be a little bit more restricted because, they have this interest, and the rest of it, yeah, they'll work on it, but it's not a big deal. They really do have a passion. The yin is more transformational. So this is the idea of, okay, they still have a lot of energy. What they want to do, however, is not just work out or play games. They may be someone who like builds a house or builds furniture. They take the raw materials of wood and they create something out of it. So they transform things. So they still want to do things. They have the energy to want to do things, but they don't just want to exercise. They want something real to come out of their efforts. Something that can actually be used. So it is a different type of viewpoint, but they still both use energy and they both use passion. For Earth, this is more about stability. And this is probably a bit more problematic in our current time when things are changing so fast. People that have a lot of Earth in their chart tend to be not so comfortable now because things are changing fast and they're just not very comfortable with it. So this is the one that has the most challenges. But sometimes you need some stability. For example, if what you will see later, water is about adaptability. Sometimes they're too adaptable and they need some stability. So the yang version is very stable. This is usually represented by a mountain mostly made of rock that doesn't change. It takes millennia to see changes in a mountain, unless humans have something to do with it, or a volcano. But they're very, very stable. Whereas yin is represented by the soil where we grow plants that feed us and feed animals that feed us. So this is more nurturing. It is still wants stability, but its point of view is different. These people like to help others, whereas these people are just more like, let's just keep the status quo. I'm happy. I help others, yes, but my whole point of living is to feel secure. Whereas these people are trying to help others feel better and feel more secure. So it's a slightly different viewpoint. For metal, it's mostly about focus. Yang tends to be more in depth and smaller in scope, whereas yin is broader and a little less depth. But they can focus. I mean, they look at things a little bit broader and then they pick something to focus on. Whereas yang pretty much zooms in to one place pretty quickly. So it's just slightly different methods of becoming focused. Adaptability is water. Water, it conforms to the container it's in, so it's extremely adaptable. The yang version is a bit more dedicated to change for change's sake, perhaps. And they tend to go more deep into, okay, this needs changing, so let's see how far that can go. Whereas yin is a bit more, it's less depth and broader, just like for metal. It says, yes, all these things can change. Any one of these is better than doing nothing, but maybe we don't zoom in, go really deep, really fast, because a lot of for example, Earth people will have a real problem with this. So it is broader and shallower, but it still is all about looking at various different aspects, accepting a lot of different viewpoints, and they're okay with it, and it doesn't bother them, whereas it would bother someone who has a lot of earth in their chart. Now, as we go through this, you may see there are some combinations of day master and month that the day master strength can come into play. And this is the table, and you've seen this before if you've watched the video I'll talk about in a second. This is actually just from there. So you find out what month you were born, and you find your element, your day master element, and this will tell you what strength it is. So it's pretty straightforward. Now, also the overall chart strength may also come into play. So there, I have the video that talks about day master strength and chart balance, tells you both things in the same video. If you need to understand that, you can watch that. But the BaZi calculator, the free BaZi calculator website, has I think it will tell you the overall strength. It won't tell you this, but this is an easy table to use. So you'll get that if you do the free BaZi calculator website analysis. Joey Yap doesn't tell you this, but he does in a more general way by looking at your chart. But this is very specific. Now, I am going to be pronouncing these in the Chinese way. I'm not going to be saying yang wood, yin wood, and that gets really old. So you may want to take a screenshot of this So I will have the character written in Chinese, and then you will have this listed here so you know what I'm talking about. And these are pronounced jia, yi, bing, ding, and I'll try to be very careful with those two because they're very close together in pronunciation. Wu, ji, geng, xin, ren, and kui. And I might pronounce it as kui, more of a K sound, which is what I usually hear. But that may be my weirdness of my ears. Or it might actually be more of a Cantonese pronunciation. But either way, it's the only one that sounds even somewhat like that. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just providing you a English language translation of the text from the Great Taoist Simple article that I mentioned quite a bit ago. But I will also tell you what it means in terms of actions. And I have a very specific reason for doing both. I could just go to what does it mean, but I think you miss a real important point if I just do that. I want to make it clear that when the Chinese text says use an element, it means perform certain actions or gain certain skills. This idea, use an element, is a type of code. That's like saying if you say, I am a Yang Fire Daymaster. If you tell me that, I know that you're very likely to be very passionate, have quite a bit of energy, you can really get things done, and that you're a go-getter. I mean, that's code. The idea, Fire Day Master, that's code for these properties of a person. And that's exactly what using an element means. It's code for properties of basically that person. And that is a person who has that element. So unless you take a class in Qigong or BaZi, you won't understand this. And of course, I have taken classes in both, especially I just recently finished a BaZi class. And if you don't understand this, and you don't understand Chinese, and you don't understand this whole idea, you see people who are practicing, and that's, I'm air quoting here, BaZi, with the idea that, oh, using an element means actually physically putting that element into your life. That's dead wrong. That's not what it means. Remember, this is code. And so if you hear someone say, oh, you need fire, so wear red, they don't understand this. And this is really, really crucial if you want to improve your life. So someone tells you to wear red as a BaZi practitioner, you pretty much can ignore them. Because they really don't understand this key point. So if you are watching more than one of the day masters, one of the elements, I do both the yin and yang together, then you can go to this time and it will tell you, it will give you to this slide, and you can just start watching the rest of the information and skip the intro because the intro will be the same. So we will start here on the yang metal. Now, yang metal represents in-depth focus. They're very good at focusing things, focusing on problems or concerns. They do have a tendency, if they're too strong, to completely miss the big picture and may focus on the wrong thing because they don't see the big picture. So that is a concern with metal in general. It does need resources for some stability so that they can keep focusing. You know, the chaos in a yang metal's life tends to really bother them in terms of work because they don't like chaos. You know, they want things, they want to be able to focus on their work and not worry about all this other stuff. But they also need output for productivity. And of course, resources is earth, and output is water. So that's true of any metal. So again, in the spring, wood is the strongest. Metal chops wood, so metal is slightly weakened in the spring because it's being used up to deal with the strong wood of the season. And of course, if you have too much wood, you tend to be able to just learn and never apply anything. And so it doesn't really help you in the long run because you never really get a career that you work on. And so that is the issue with people who have a lot of wood, and that can affect people who have metal as their daymaster and still have a lot of wood because their daymaster gets weakened quite a bit. So if you are a yang metal, gung daymaster, born in the month of the tiger, you are going to use various things. It is a little complicated. Now again, since these are grayed out, originally the author of the thing that I'm translating for you basically says these two guys, and along with the monkey and the rooster, don't need climate adjustment, but he gives climate adjustment. That's just the way it is. Maybe it's less likely these guys actually need it, but if they need it, this is what you do. Now you do need some sun, some energy here. That's usually what Bing represents, and that's supposed to warm the metal, make it maybe, I don't know. It just says it needs it to warm it. This will make more sense when we talk about what you do, but this is what it says. The jia wood, the roots of the tree, break up the soil and release the buried metal. I mean, they usually call it gold, but it really just means metal. If you have too much fire, then you need to use the earth to reduce it because fire produces earth. And so you use Wu, Yang earth, to reduce it. Now, if the branches form a fire bureau, and that means you have the tiger, horse, and dog in your chart, all three have to be there, then you need to use water because this would be too much fire. So this is the first time I think a bureau has come up, although I could be wrong. Of course, in the order of wood, fire, earth, and then metal. Now for a gung metal born in the rabbit month, they have a bit of different ways of doing this. Now, Bing is real fire. It is what you use, what a blacksmith uses to heat the metal to be able to shape it. So it brings out the strength of the metal. And also, of course, when a blacksmith does it, he also tempers the metal, which makes it stronger. So that's what's included here. The jia feeds the bing, the ding, and the yang metal, which you're using yourself, chops the tree, and that gives you the fire. So it's kind of another circular thing. Now, if you're missing the ding, you can use Bing instead. And it has slightly different properties, but they're very, very similar. And you'll see what I mean in just a little bit. So if you are a gung metal daymaster born in the month of the dragon, it's quite a bit similar to this. The last few are a bit different, but it brings out the strength, the ding does. And if the earth is strong, and you're going to have more earth because dragon is an earth animal. So it will have some earth in the hidden stem, so that will add some of the earth. And you need the jia wood to have the tree roots break up the soil so that you can get to the metal. And if there is a fire bureau again, or if fire is high, you're going to be using various types of water. And again, they're similar, slightly different in the application. So what does this mean? Well, if you are Gung Daymaster, born in the month of the Tiger, you need a passion. The passion will allow you to see the big picture. And that is actually pretty important for Gung because they tend to be very focused and can sometimes miss the big picture. So it's a really good idea for them to actually have the right passion or have a passion that they can then focus on the whole thing and then focus after they understand the whole thing, they focus on what they want to. And they're very good at focusing. Now, education will allow the passion to actually be fulfilled. That is, you will understand enough of the big picture through education that you know how to move forward. Now, if fire is high, you need to use some stability usually in your routine, but it can come from other sources like a very good, stable relationship. But you have to have some sort of stability in your life so that you can concentrate on the problem and not have to worry about all kinds of chaos, which drive most people crazy, but I think are particularly bad for metal daymasters. And this also tends to weaken the passion a bit, but allows you to maintain health so you don't keep getting burnt out. So it helps balance you. Now, if you have the tiger, horse, and dog, all three in your chart, then you need to be able to adapt better. You need to be more flexible, either in your schedule or in how you think about a given problem, so that you're able to function better in the real world. Now, for a Gung Daymaster born in the month of the Rabbit, again, it's passion, but it's passion based on transformation. That is, you don't just, it's not so much a theoretical thing. You actually usually like working with your hands or working to create something that can be transformed into reality, into something in real life. Maybe you don't do the transformation. If you're an idea or a designer in a company, your company may do that, and that also works. But you don't just work with ideas, you actually work with something that can happen in real life. That's the difference between Bing and Ding. And it does have to still do with your passion, but it's a passion whether or not you just understand something or that you actually produce something. And education is needed to fuel the transformation, to know what to do to create the transformation of a general idea to something in reality. Now, in-depth focus completes the effort. You really have to focus on the details to actually get something to work in real life. And I would agree with that. It's fine to be able to design a house, but to get it to work in real life, you really have to know what you're going to do, and like almost step by step if it's something you haven't done before. So this is definitely true. Now, if you are missing the ding from your chart, you just don't have it even in the hidden stems, then you basically use passion alone. Sometimes the transformation might not occur, but it is still fairly satisfying. It isn't as satisfying as something where you can actually transform, but maybe it will happen in the future. And so it's not quite as satisfying, but it's better than not having it. So a Gung Daymaster born in the month of the Dragon, basically, again, you're using passion and to transform an idea to something in real life. If Earth is high, you need to use education to expand your viewpoint, expand your knowledge base, expand what you know can actually work. And that can be a big thing. And again, education doesn't necessarily mean formal education. This could be more like an apprenticeship. This is actually a really good example where maybe you work for somebody and maybe for no pay or very low pay, to be able to learn something about what you're interested in. Some of these things work very well. Uh, some of them don't. I mean, some things require real degrees, and other things, what you need is knowledge. It depends on the details of what you're interested in. Now, if you have that tiger, horse, and dog, which is a fire bureau, if you have all three in your chart, and you have to have all three, or if fire is high, you use flexibility to expand it. That is, you have to become more flexible in your approach to the problem or to what you want to do, and be a bit more relaxed, and that will allow you to actually find a way forward. Otherwise, you may get stuck, and that's a problem that many people have. They will go to a certain point, they get stuck, and then they don't know what to do. Usually, if that's happening to you, what you need to do is get a little more education, be a little more relaxed about what is possible, and then you can find a way forward. So we go to the summer. The summer, the fire is high. Now, fire melts metal, so this also has a decreasing effect on fire or on metal. It can weaken it. It can make it less uh, less useful, but it is also somewhat necessary to shape the metal. So it is actually, that relationship is kind of unique, the relationship between fire and metal. It needs it, but yet it's weakened by it. So we have these possibilities. You're going to use water. This is run, which represents a lake or a body of water. And it weakens it, but you also need the earth that will create the metal. So this is a balancing act, of course. And fire is an assistant if it's needed. It depends on what you have in your chart. If you have enough fire, which is usually at least an average level, then you probably don't need any extra fire. You're probably okay. And if it has a metal bureau, which is the snake, rooster, and ox, then you have to use ding, but you have to have all three. If you have two, but not the third one, it doesn't count. You have to have all three. So this isn't going to be that common. Now, if you were born as a gung day master in the month of the horse, you have what you really need is a lot of water. And of course, by now you might realize that water represents flexibility, but that is, you need this because this is the strongest time of fire. It is, this is where we have the summer solstice. So fire is very, very strong here. And you also need more metal. You need what metal represents, which is basically focus. If there's no water in your chart, you have to, and that would be kind of sad, but you have to use earth to produce more metal, because, and that also weakens the fire. So you're trying to find a way to weaken the fire here because fire is so strong. And for the Gung Day Master, born in the month of the goat, we are going to use a couple interesting things. Now, there is another type of thing that's like BaZi, but it's called Ziwei Doshu. It uses it uses actually the lunar calendar. So your birth date will be different and it'll have a different chart, but there's a possibility of having an Earth Bureau, and this is only, as far as I can tell, in the Ziwei Doshu chart. And and it has to be in your destiny palace. Now, this gets a little hard to tell, uh, but you can then look at the you can actually get the Z-Way Doshu chart for free, your Z-Way Doshu chart for free, and you just put in your Western birth date, it does the calculation for you. And the wood comes first if you have the Earth Bureau. Then you use the Ding Fire. Otherwise, if you don't have that, it's in this order. Use Ding first and then Jia. So now let's go to what this actually means. And again, the reason why I'm doing all this is I want you to really fully understand that when they say use an element, it is code for doing a certain action. So this is what it means. So for the Gung Day Master born in the month of the snake, you're going to use a mixture of flexibility and stability. So you may set a routine where during a certain part of the day, an hour or two, something like this, you look around for new ways to look at the problem that you're dealing with, or new ways to look at a topic you're interested in. And that really helps you. And this is how you balance it. You actually say, okay, I'm going to spend, even if it's only 10 minutes a day looking for new answers or looking for new methods. 10 minutes is probably not enough, but it'll depend on how much free time you have in the day. So this is basically ways of filling up hours that maybe you otherwise play video games or something. You could spend half that time instead looking for new pathways, new ideas. And that will improve the quality of your day method. That will improve your ability to focus without being too focused. Because remember, this is something that the yang metal has an issue with. It can sometimes not just see the big picture, just totally miss it because they're too focused. So this flexibility helps you focus again on the bigger picture. And that's how it improves the quality of your day master. Now, passion can assist if it's needed. If you feel like you don't know what you want, then you look around and maybe you spend that flexible time looking around for a passion. So passion is usually fairly necessary for a yang metal day master because they need something to focus on, and a passion helps do that. Now, if there is a metal bureau where you have all three of these animal signs, you're going to use transformation, and that is take an idea from one successful thing and apply it to your current problem. It might be something that you've personally succeeded in before, or it may be something you read about that you understand, it can apply to what I want to do right now. That's what's meant by this. Now, if you're a Gung metal day master and born in the month of the horse, then you're going to have to use more flexibility and adaptability. And this will help you be less focused, because this is it's very easy to be focused as a yang metal day master, but you probably will have more health problems if you can't be a little bit more adaptable and flexible in your routine, your daily routine. Now, also, you want to focus on the big picture. This helps you direct your energy use to the proper part, because you're really good at focusing and not so good at the big picture. So here, you have to step back and look at the big picture. And if there's no water in the chart, which is pretty hard for someone born in the summer because they are missing what should be their useful God, but you want to use stability and nurturing again to prevent health problems, because this is what the water is for. It is used to help your health, because this is a real let's say, somewhat of a danger time, because to be born in this setup, because fire is so hot and so high, and that actually breaks down the metal. It melts the metal, so it can affect your health. And this is something that, maybe when you're young, this makes no difference, but as you get older, you may see the problem. And if you're young and healthy, you don't have to worry too much about this. But focusing on the big picture still will help you. For the Gung Day Master born in the month of the goat, you're going to use transformation and education to improve your chances of success. These two go together. So you use ideas that you learn through education to apply to whatever your problem happens to be at this current time. Now, the education does not have to be formal. It can be. There are times when it has to be formal. There are other times when it does not have to be. But you need to learn something, even if it's just from the internet. As long as the topic isn't political, you can usually get some good information on the internet. Now, if the Ziwei Doshu chart, your Ziwei Doshu chart, and I talk about that next, has an Earth Bureau in your Destiny Palace, you need to use education first to find a path to be able to transform something. So it just reverses the order. You start here, if you don't have the Earth Bureau, you think about transformation first. And then you get the education that allows you to see what you can transform. But here, you are thinking more about transformation rather than just thinking about the problem in general. And that will help you focus on what kind of education you need. Now, this will help you to find out whether or not what you have is any kind of a bureau in your Ziwei Doshu chart. And this, you find your Destiny Palace, which is pretty clear. If you go to this calculator, it's in English, you can find your Destiny Palace. And in the last line, because it will list a bunch of stars, it will tell you in Romanized Chinese, that is in English letters, what the pillar is there. And so you see whether or not you have any one of these animals, or actually pillars. So this is metal rat, metal ox. So you, and this is usually how it will be written in this calculator at the bottom of the page. So you have to be a little careful. There's quite a few to look through. And it's only relevant, this is only relevant if you have a Yang Metal Day Master born in the year of the goat. Otherwise, you ignore this totally. Just want that to be clear. So this is for the Gung Metal Day Masters during the autumn when metal is already strong. So focus is not an issue for these people, but if they focus too hard, they miss the big picture and they can concentrate on the wrong thing and go down the wrong path to try to solve a problem. So they really have to here worry about the big picture. And that's primarily what this, by using these elements, will do. So a Gung Metal Day Master born in the month of the monkey may or may not need a climate adjustment. As I said, the author of this thing that I'm translating for you says the monkey and rooster don't need it. Neither does the tiger or the rabbit, but he does show climate adjustments, so take it for what it's worth. But I guess if you're having problems, this is what you need to do. So they need to have ding and also jia. So ding is fire. Now metal does need fire to shape it. A piece of ore, which is a metal with a bunch of other stuff, has to be smelted before it can become purer, pure enough to actually use. And Also, the reason why the wood is here is because you need the tree roots to break up the ground so that you can find the metal. That's what they say, but also that is what produces the fire. So together, these will make sense when we talk about what to do. But if you've been listening, you may already figure this out. I hope that you have. I really do, because that means you're understanding what the code means. And remember, this is code. Using an element is code for doing a certain action. So for the Gung Metal Daymaster born in the month of the rooster, primarily they use the same thing the monkey does, but they also need uh, some metal in general, and it doesn't matter which one, whether it's yang or yin metal, and also some Bing fire, which, if you've been listening, represents passion, of course, and just passion in general. And that is what we're doing to adjust the climate. It's getting colder, so you need a little bit of extra heat. For the gung metal, born in the month of the dog, it's a bit different. You need the jaw wood to break up the soil so that you can find the metal, and you also need water, and this is usually a significant body of water, not rainfall, to clean the metal so that you are able to work with it, so that you don't have just a bunch of dirt. And and that does represent something, and you'll see in a second. So what this all means is you need to use transformation, that is taking successful ideas from one source and applying them to your current problem. But you also need education. This can be formal or informal education, but you need to learn something new. And together, those two things is what allows you to see the problem in a big enough picture that you can see a path to get to the solution. And you tend to see it in a new light. You come up with unique solutions that can really be very helpful to everybody and um, can make you more valuable to a company or to the population in general. And this doesn't have to be necessarily physical stuff. This can be ideas also, but it's transforming from one successful idea to another. For the gung metal, born in the month of the rooster, you basically do the same thing as you do for the monkey, but you do need to add some stuff. You need to add a little more focus, because this might still be an issue because it's getting cold enough, and metal does need some heat so to function. So this is why you may need a little bit of extra metal, that is a little bit of extra focus, even though this is already strong. But it's apparently getting cold enough that this can be a problem. And you need some passion. That's what this Bing fire represents. So you're going to use passion to find a topic that really interests you. Then you use transformation of something. It doesn't necessarily have to be your particular passion, but something that you've learned about that you can take and apply to your passion. And you do have to focus quite strongly on getting that link. You really have to look for that. You can't just let it come along. You have to put some effort into it. And for the gung metal, born in the month of the dog, it's a bit unusual, but you need education to allow you to see possibilities, to allow you to see what can be done. And then you need to use flexibility to focus on the best solution. Now, this one will really help you see the big picture, because this is what is needed most of the time when metal is very strong, they miss the big picture. So here, this helps you really see the big picture and then focus down to the correct solution, the one that is usually most useful, not necessarily the easiest, but the one that's most useful, that gets the job done best. That's what is meant by best solution. So now in the winter, water is the strongest. Water is what metal produces. So metal tends to get rather weak in the winter. And so because it's just being, the water is overwhelming it. And so if you're born a gunmetal in the month of the pig, then you basically need fire. And you also need a bit of wood to feed that fire. That's what that's what the translation says. Now, if you are a gunmetal born in the month of the rat, you basically need the same thing in a slightly different order. Now, if you have fire in your chart, that's good, but the fire to be the most effective needs to be one of these fires. So a fire tiger, fire horse, fire dog, fire snake, or fire goat. Those will have the strongest effect that comes from the fire. And you can see some are ding and some are bing. And of course, this is not included. Your month won't be included here. Your day also won't be included. So this has to come from your year or your hour because you've already accounted for the other pillars. So this is a little bit harder to get. If you do not have one of these pillars in your year or in your hour, then you have to work a bit harder with putting more fire into your life. And that will make more sense in a couple slides. So if you're a gunmetal born in the month of the ox, and this is the last of the months, again, you're using the same thing. It's a slightly different order. And this time fire comes first before the wood comes. And again, you need that same set of pillars. If you have the fire in your chart, you need these same set of pillars to have the strongest effect from the fire. And if you have that effect, usually you have what you need you have one of these pillars, you have the ability to have enough fire to be able to do well. That's what it means. Now, what this means in real life is you need a passion and some transformation from some sort of knowledge that you know that'll come through education. And so you do need education here to improve your chances of success. Now, this education can be formal or informal. Can even come from the internet. And in general, if you're not looking for political stuff, a lot of the stuff on the internet is pretty accurate. Health, maybe not so much, because there's a lot of people trying to hack or hawk, these miracle natural solutions, which don't work or don't work very often. So, but the idea is that with education, you actually see the ability to transform one idea from one piece of tactic or one solution and apply it to what you're interested in. And you do need the passion because otherwise this is a cold month, metal needs some heat. So you tend to be a little bit, I guess you could say lazy or unmotivated to really work. So definitely you need passion. For the gunmetal, born in the month of the rat, it's the same thing, but it's a slightly different order. Here, education is a little bit more important. You need to combine education and transforming ideas from one line of solutions in one field to the field that you are interested in. And you're using passion to guide you. That is, you're using your passion. You learn something that doesn't necessarily seem to be in your particular passion, but this allows you to be able to apply something. Now, this is very common. When you go to college, there's a lot of classes you take that you might say, well, why do I need this class? Uh, but they do help you see a whole lot of other stuff that help you prepare to be able to take the higher level classes. So there's a lot of classes you need as a base, especially in mathematics, uh, and even in English, depending if you're, if you're a scientist, you probably think the English classes are useless. And if you aren't in science, you probably think the math classes are useless, but they aren't. They teach you certain things. So having this all together, the right education, transformation of what you see works in a certain thing to your particular passion, that helps you see the big picture and helps you know exactly what path to take. It makes it life easier. Now, again, you have to have, if that fire is going to be effective in your chart, you have to have the fire tiger, horse, dog, snake, or goat. Some will be yin fire, some will be yang fire. And that will be most effective. If you do not have one of these pillars, and I would say there's not, I mean, the chances are, well, about 50-50, I guess, then you would have, you have to work harder. You have to apply yourself, finding a passion more strongly. And again, passion might be a little bit hard because this is winter, it's very cold, and passion is heat. So you may have to work harder to find a passion, but it's worth it. And for a gung medal born in the month of the ox, passion and transformation is more important than education. But education is also important. It's just that you tend to find the passion first, and then you use in appropriate, or you find some education, and that passion allows the education to take root, to you really understand. Once you have an idea and you're interested in it, then the education makes sense. Sometime education comes first, sometime you need the passion first. And actually for all of these, you need the passion first. But education is of very importance. And again, for the fire to be effective, you want to have a pillar that either is tiger, as a fire tiger, horse, dog, or fire snake or goat. And so I guess it's not really 50-50. It's maybe more like 15%. So this will be fairly rare. And if you don't have that, it's not at the end of the world. What it does is you have to work harder to find the passion. That's really all it means. So now we move on to sin metal. It represents a broader focus on a problem. They tend to have less problem seeing the big picture compared to the yang metal, but they also have a greater desire for popularity or fame of some sort. And this is what makes them, feel good. So they also tend to represent a more refined viewpoint. They're not just getting the job done. They're getting the job done in a way that also looks good. So looks are important. That is, people want to have things look a certain way. They have a preconceived notion of what is beautiful or good, and they focus on heading towards that direction. This is fine. I mean, beauty in life is very important for most people, but it really needs output to shine. You have to show something if you're a sin metal to feel really good, to feel like you have a purpose in life. So this output, of course, is water, which is flexibility. So this basically means you're allowing people to see things in a new way. That's where the flexibility comes in. So we start again with the spring months. Now wood, metal chops wood. Well, this metal doesn't really chop wood very well, but it may harvest things. So this isn't terribly bad. Uh, it, uh, it can handle wood, I think, a little better than the yang metal can. But if you're a sin metal daymaster born in the month of the tiger, you need some resources and also some output. So you need the yin earth, the Ji, to give birth to yourself. So this is a nurturing type of soil. It makes sense. Then you need some water to clean the metal, that is to be able to kind of know what to do. And the yang metal is an assistant. It will give you uh, some some stuff that you need to get the job done because it's a tougher type of metal. Now the sin metal, born in the month of the rabbit, is a bit complicated. Uh, the the Jia wood breaks up the earth to reveal the metal, and the water cleans it, and the fire allows it to shine. But you also need some water to control, and this usually represents rainfall, so it's a more gentle water to control the fire because otherwise the metal can melt too much. So this is a pretty complicated one. Again, all this will make a little more sense when we talk about what to do. And remember, this is all code. So a sin metal born in the month of the dragon basically has very similar. Basically, it's really the same. But there's the added thing. If you have a pig, rat, or monkey someplace in your chart, and this would be in a different pillar, of course, then then it's extra special. It's noble means that you're better than average. And so you have a real potential here to really shine, and what that basically means is becoming famous. So this is a pretty good combination if you have the rat, the pig, or the monkey in your chart. So back to here, what does this mean? If you're a sin metal daymaster born in the month of the tiger, you need passion and flexibility. So that allows you to transform ideas from something to come up with something new that allows you to become famous. Basically, you shine. People realize that you have a really good idea, and that is what you need. However, you probably need some real determined focus on the big picture, and that will allow you to figure out what you need. And so this is where the yang metal comes in, is the determined focus. You really have to be focused. And usually it is the big picture you have to focus on. And you have a better chance than someone who has a gung daymaster. They tend to have trouble with the big picture. You have a little better one, but this is really, really focusing on the big picture. That will allow you to see the path that you're going to transform to come up with something new. Kind of a circular thing. And you may have to do this several times before, you may have to go back to the big picture several times before you find the answer. But that's the key. For the sin metal born in the month of the rabbit, education is important. And of course, education tends to make you more flexible, but you have to really also concentrate on not becoming too focused. You have to remain flexible. Now, passion will also allow you, all those things together allows you to shine. Now, you do have to be a little careful with the passion. You do need to be able to be flexible enough that you're not so focused on your passion that you ignore your health. That's the danger here, is that the passion can lead to health problems, repeated health problems, because you keep exhausting yourself. So this is why we need just a little bit of this yin water. You need enough flexibility not to let the passion take over your life. And then the sin metal, born in the month of the dragon, they need education and flexibility, basically the same thing as the rabbit, but they have an advantage. If they happen to have a pig, rat, or monkey someplace else in their chart, because dragon's not included, so it has to be in one of the other pillars, then great things may be done, and really you can become very, very famous. Now, if we're talking about sin metal, well, the pig, you could have a sin metal pig, but you can't have a sin metal monkey or rat. So you could have a pig in your day, but otherwise you're going to have these have to be in your year or your hour. So I hope that makes sense. So if we go to the summer, fire is strong. It's the strongest. And of course, if you overuse fire, you usually have a lot of illnesses, repeated illnesses, because you exhaust yourself. So there is an idea of trying to keep the fire under control. And so if you are a sin metal born in the month of the snake, you notice we have a couple waters. Water puts out fire, so these are used for basically control. But you still need some jaw wood to break up the earth so that you can find the metal. And the water adjusts the climate as well as cleaning the metal. So, and if you've ever watched how they go from an ore to a finished metal, it involves water and fire, and of course digging it out of the earth. So for a sin metal born in the month of the horse, they basically, it's a little bit different. They're still using both types of water. So of course that's flexibility, but they also need to have certain types of soil. It's not just earth, but certain types of earth. And that will allow you to see what basically your ability to transform things comes from. That's what that, remember, it's all code. So now the sin metal born in the month of the goat is basically a lot like the snake, but it has a bit of difference. We still need the water to reveal the metal, and the gung, the yang form of metal, acts as an assistant. It is best if there is no yang earth present. That represents rocks. It's a little hard to get stuff from rocks, but it can be controlled with the yang wood, the jia. So now let's find out what this really means. Sin metal born in the month of the snake needs education and flexibility. When you put those two together, and again, education can be formal, but it does not need to be, and it will allow you to, your teachers will recognize you have talent, and that is the start of becoming famous. So, of course, that would mostly be for formal education when you're talking about the teacher noticing it. Now, being flexible reduces the chances of having repeated illness, and that's this guy. Going with the flow occasionally and stop concentrating on trying to solve the problem may help you. That's what the yin water, the gui, does for you. It lets you relax. The sin metal, born in the month of the horse, it needs, you need to nurture flexibility. You need to really work on flexibility because that may be a problem for you, because your fire, you tend to be very passionate, very concentrated, and that often makes it hard to be flexible. So here you want to nurture, really work on flexibility. And this is really true if you have a child. If they have this combination, and this is one of your kids, really concentrate on having the kid become more flexible, less rigid, less focused on one particular passion. This, I mean, because if they focus too much on the passion, they tend to get ill, and kids get ill easily enough. So learning to adapt to the situation and be just generally more flexible, go with the flow at least occasionally, that tends to reduce your problems with illness, with repeated illness. And so if you have a child that has this, they have to be guided more than many kids, because you have to help them adjust to their particular personality. And of course, if this is you, you have to nurture flexibility. So you have to become more flexible, and usually you really have to pursue it, because it doesn't come to you very easily. Now, the Sin Metal Goat, I should say the Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the goat, not the Sin Metal Goat. It needs education and flexibility. And the flexibility allows you to keep going back to the big picture, and it helps you stay on track to find a solution. And again, these people tend to come up with unique solutions, which brings them some fame. It may not be fame worldwide, but it's fame in their own field or fame in their own location. And education is crucial if there is earth present above a very low level. Now, you're going to have some earth because the goat has some earth in its hidden stem. But if your overall, like in the Joey Yap chart, is below 15% of earth total, and you're looking at that spiderweb chart, you're okay. You don't necessarily need education. Of course, education always helps, but if it's at anything above about 15%, I would say you need education to be able to become more flexible and be able to do that transformation that the Sin Metal really needs to do to be happy. So now we go on to the autumn. Metal here is the strongest. And of course, metal is focus, and so you can miss the big picture if you focus too much. So here you have to be a little careful about not missing the big picture, because you have a tendency, and so does the element of the season, have a tendency to be too focused. So the Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the monkey really needs water. And this represents bodies of water like the ocean or a lake. But using that allows your transformation to shine. That is, people will recognize it. The Jia wood and the Wu earth may or may not be needed. And so you sort of have to play it by ear. Definitely you need this water. Now, unfortunately, sin water or yin water cannot substitute for yang water. So yin water is more like you just go with the flow. The yang water is a little bit more dedicated, a little bit more focused compared to the yin water. It's not go with the flow. It's like a deliberate thing to become more flexible, because remember, water is flexibility. So for the Sin Metal, born in the month of the rooster, basically you just need these two things. You need some water to clean things, and you need some Jia wood to the trees, that is, to break up the soil. And that's if there's earth in the chart. And most charts will have some earth. In fact, that's the easiest one to have. But if there's a metal bureau, which is the snake, rooster, and ox, and you're going to have the rooster, so you need a snake and the ox elsewhere in your chart. If it's present and there is no yang water, no run, then you have to use Bing instead. Now, this will make sense when we talk about what this means when we go out of the code. And you'll see that in just a little bit. If you are a dog, you are a Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the dog. You basically need these two things for the same reasons. You need to break up the soil, and you need to clean the soil to bring out the metal. But here, fire and earth in the chart are harmful, so hopefully they're on the fairly low side. If they're not, then you're going to have to work a lot harder than anybody else in this. In anybody was born in a different month, and that's a little unfortunate, but that's just the way life is sometimes. So back to here, what does this really mean? Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the monkey, they need flexibility to shine. They also need education and some stability, and that's usually in routine. But it may or may not be needed. If there's a problem, you try them. That's the key. And whether or not it's needed is whether or not you have a problem. But the individual has to be quite serious about becoming flexible. They can't just go with the flow and hope good things happen. They actually have to be focused on broadening their viewpoint. That's what flexibility is. So a Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the rooster, you do need flexibility. That's absolutely necessary, because you remember the Sin Metal wants to transform things. Wants to be, they want to shine. They want to be noticed. But usually you need flexibility to see things in a way that it allows you to find something that is unique to you, and that's what allows you to become famous. And you need this flexibility so that when you have enough information gathered, you can know what to focus on. That's where the flexibility comes in. It's a bit of work, but I think it's worth it if your goal is to actually be noticed. Now, if there's earth in the chart, and it's very likely there will be at least some, you need education. This will improve your clarity of what needs to be focused on. And usually, yes, you want to have both education, and that almost always improves a person's flexibility. Again, the education doesn't have to be formal. It can be informal. It can be apprenticeship. It can be just learning something on the web. And if you steer away from politics and probably health, the information you find on the web is usually fairly good. Now, if there's a snake, rooster, and ox, and you have to have that set, I mean, you've got the rooster, you have to have a snake and an ox somewhere else, and there is no yang water, then you can use passion instead of flexibility, because that will still help you focus on what needs to happen just through your passion. But flexibility really, really works. And education will bring that even if you don't have any yang water in your chart. Now for the dog, if you are a Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the dog, you need education and flexibility, and so you focus on being flexible and not just taking one path in your educational path, what you learn. You need both to succeed. Passion can actually get in the way because it may not allow you to see the big picture. You're too focused on the small one. And of course, stubbornness is harmful. It's always harmful, So basically, if you have a lot of fire and especially yang earth, that in your chart, you have to work a lot harder to be more flexible. And that can still work. It just makes it much harder. And like I say, it's kind of unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Not everybody gets to have an easy life. I think everybody knows that. And as long as you work hard, you can overcome this. It just, you have to work harder than everybody else. So now we go to the winter. A sin metal daymaster born in the month of the pig. Well, water is very strong here, but they still need water. But they also need fire because this is cold. Remember, this is cold and wet. So they need some fire because metal needs some fire to actually be able to be shaped. So, but first you're going to use the water and then you use the fire. So there is an order to these things. Now for the Sin Metal Daymaster born in the month of the rat, fire is absolutely necessary. This is when we have the winter solstice during this month. So it's cold and you don't have a lot of light. So you do need the fire. The others can be used depending on the detail of the chart and the circumstances. This one is a bit harder. I mean, yes, if your life is chaotic, you need this for stability. If your life is narrow, you don't have a big understanding of the world, you need the water. And if things feel stuck and you can't get anywhere, you need the wood. So, and they represent different things, of course. The yang earth represents stability. The yang water represents flexibility, and the yang wood represents education. So now you kind of know what to do. Now, if you're a sin metal born in the month of the ox, you also need fire. This is absolutely necessary because it is also a very cold month. In fact, it's often colder than December. This is, January is often the coldest month because the sun isn't strong enough to start really heating anything. But after you have the fire, you should use the water first, and then the earth, and then the two earths. But you use the yang version first before the yin. And this does have real meaning, and we'll see that in a second. So again, the sin metal, born in the month of the pig, becoming flexible is necessary. It allows the problems to be washed away. It basically allows you to see new pathways to get where you want to go. And then if you develop, that also helps you develop a passion, but that passion then can allow you to shine. But you have to be flexible first, because that is what allows you to see how to solve the problem. The sin metal, born in the month of the rat, basically they absolutely have to have passion, and that comes first. The stability, flexibility, and education are used as they're needed. And usually, if you could just try one. If that doesn't work, try the next one. And as I said, if you have too much chaos in your life, use stability first. So set a routine. That's usually the best way to get stability. If you have been working on one way of getting something done and it's not working, that's when you would use flexibility. So give the first try, your first inclination, a try. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that's when you have to use flexibility. And if you do all this and you still can't get anywhere, it's usually education is what you need. You feel stuck, you just don't know where to turn to. That's when education is needed. And again, that does not have to be formal education. It can be, but it does not have to be. And then for the sin metal, born in the month of the ox, passion again is an absolute necessity. So you have to find a passion. And this can be a little bit hard. You do have to work at this. So expose yourself to more things. This is usually how passions develop. If you live in the United States, watch more of PBS. They can really, that's how I developed my passion. We didn't have all the when I grew up, where I lived, we didn't have all the network channels, but we did have PBS. And that is what I would say what changed my life. I think Nova is why I became a scientist, watching Nova on PBS. So, and maybe you can watch that elsewhere now. But anyway, you need, and of course, with the internet today, this shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to expose yourself to new things and find a passion. But once the passion is found, flexibility is often needed first, so you can't just focus on one aspect of the passion. You usually have to be a little more, just a little more broad. But the passion needs to be there first so you know what to focus on. And then you broaden your focus. So it helps you, yeah, but you do have to have the passion first. Otherwise, you don't know what to focus on. And then you can use stability, which is basically a routine. And then you want to really nurture it. You want to nurture your passion because it has a tendency to die because this is such a cold month and passion is heat. So you do have to nurture your passion and be careful not to lose it, which may mean being a little more flexible, maybe finding an offshoot. And the passion may change a little as you go along in life, but you don't want to lose the passion. And that is the danger here. If you lose the passion, it makes it very hard to move forward. So that's basically it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you can either email me or leave a comment on this channel. And I really hope that people can use this. Thanks again for watching.